Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am very excited because it is time for a 24-hour readathon, which I really love doing, even though they're like super time intensive, which it's only 24 hours, you would think. But I like doing the timed one, which means that like while I'm actively reading, I have a timer going down, and when I have to stop to do like normal other non-reading things, cooking, cleaning, that kind of thing, I pause the timer and then I do that until the time completely runs out and see what I've read, what I've done, as opposed to just like one day reading vlog. This is like an actual 24 hours. I really like doing them. I like that version better. We'll see how long it takes me to do the whole 24 hours. I'm a bit of a mood reader, but I do have 3 books that I'm kind of eyeing. I am really focused on series at the moment, and here are the 3 that I am like more so fixed on. The one that I'm probably gonna read first is Fair Game by Patricia Briggs. This is the 3rd book in the Alpha and Omega series, which I talked about in my last vlog, but this is basically a paranormal urban adult fantasy about 2 people who are mated, and they get involved in a lot of werewolf fae witch drama. I will go more into the series in the next clip, but I have this. I also have Blood Witch by Susan Dennard. I think this is the 3rd book in the series, but the 4th overall. The author wrote like a book 2.5. I really like this world. There's a lot of political drama. There's like a prophecy. There's really cool magic in this one. This is YA fantasy. If I pick this one up, I will go into more detail. And then I have the Sweep series by Cate Tiernan. This is like my CW series. I say that in the best way possible because some of my favorite shows are CW shows, but this is like very low stakes, like boyfriend, friend, family drama. Nothing super big and end of the world drama. This is more low-key. This is more like witch-based urban YA. These are the 3 series that I'm really focused on, and as always, I have like a ton of books to read. This is just what is on like currently like on my head, but we'll see. That is on the agenda for now. I will come back, so as soon as I start reading, we're gonna hit that timer and we're gonna go down from 24 hours. Hello, I wanted to give an update because I didn't really talk about this book in the intro so much. This is the book that I'm currently reading. I have about 21 and a half hours left, so it's taking me a few hours, but I'm halfway done with it, and I can like finally tell you what it's about. Also, I bought a crown because I thought it was really pretty. Anyways, this book, so I assume that like anyone who watches the video has never seen any of my past videos, so I'm gonna explain something that I've explained on my channel like 1,000 times, and that is Patricia Briggs's like greater universe. The Alpha and Omega series is a follow-up companion series to the Mercy Thompson series, which I love. In the Mercy Thompson series, this was the original series. We follow Mercy Thompson, who is a coyote shifter. She gets involved in a lot of fae, werewolf, vampire type drama, but she has an adopted family, or she's adopted kind of, and one of her brothers is a man named Charles, who is the enforcer for like the #1 werewolf in the Americas. His name is Bran, and Bran's son is Charles, and so we follow Charles in the Alpha and Omega series. I don't want to go too detailed and like confuse people who are watching this for the first time. Charles is a very unique werewolf. He's a very dominant personality. If we were gonna rank werewolves in terms of who's the most dominant in the Americas, his father Bran would be #1 and Charles would be #2, and almost all werewolves would fall below him. So he's very like powerful and stuff, and he's very threatening. You come across a lot of people who've heard of Charles and are genuinely afraid of him because he's that scary, I guess. But this is the Alpha and Omega series, and Charles being the Alpha, the Omega is Anna, and they are mated, they are married, but they got married and mated fairly quickly in a very unique situation, and they don't quite still know each other. They haven't grown, like they didn't fall in love and then get married. It was a very like quick, sudden thing. This series is more romance heavy than this one being more focused on Mercy. This one is just as focused on their relationship, as well as like whatever drama of the week, villain of the week that they have, which both of these series have like villain of the week type protagonist or antagonist. This one has a mystery at the core of it. It is they're investigating a serial killer who's killed like fae and werewolves, and everyone's like, how powerful do you have to be to kill like a ton of different werewolves and fae and that kind of thing. But like I said before, also we're focused on Anna and Charles's relationship. I love their relationship. It's really fun to read a book that hits every note. I love mysteries. I like urban fantasy settings, like urban-y settings. This takes place in Boston, I think. This one is in Boston, and actually following a couple that you genuinely are rooting for. I love Anna and Charles. While I love the Mercy Thompson series, this series starts out technically before this series starts, so you can read this first, but there's gonna probably be some spoilers between the two series. I've already caught up to the Mercy Thompson series, which I love, and I'm loving this a bit more, I want to say. Shocker, I know. That is what this series is about. I'm really enjoying this one so far. I love a good mystery. I love following a couple that I can actually root for. I love Charles. I love Anna. We'll see what I read next. I'm very motivated to read different things. I've been mostly in a fantasy urban type of vibe, but maybe I'll pick up like something else. I hope you kind of understood my rambling or liked my crown. Okay, bye. Hi, so I just finished Fair Game by Patricia Briggs. This is the first book that I finished. I have about 20 hours left, so it took me about 4 hours to finish this. This ended on such an explosive ending, something that I already knew was going to happen because this series takes place alongside the Mercy Thompson series, so some of these things were already going to happen, but seeing how they played out was so intense. I really love this installment. I kind of want to give it 5 stars, and that's probably because like I'm on the high of the book because I just finished it, but I really liked it. It had so many of the things that I like. One, we get to see the relationship between Anna and Charles just like continue to grow and address the problems that they have between themselves, but there's like a mystery at hand, and there's like a serial killer, and it gets really intense. Her stories, Patricia Briggs' stories, tend to wrap up pretty much in the last 2 chapters. The chapters can be a little lengthy, not too long, but like maybe 20 pages per chapter, so they might wrap up a little too quick for someone, but I really enjoyed it. Really intense ending that just like ended like on like a kind of real reveal, and I know what happens next in like the grander world because I've read 14 books in the other series. I really enjoyed it. I know that this author has been in this world for quite some time, but I would also like to see like more fae point of views, since we have Mercy, who's a shifter, and then Anna and Charles, who are werewolves. We don't really have a fae perspective too much, if I can remember. I don't think we do. As for what I'll read next, I have 20 hours left. I picked up this yesterday, The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcey Coates. I haven't read Darcey Coates. I see her books everywhere all the time, and I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to read something a little bit of a cleanse, like a one and done book before I jump into another series. I think I might read the next book in the Sweep series, but before I do that, I wanted to do one of these like standalone books. It's a horror. Apparently there's a haunted house. I believe in this book our main character Adrian inherits this very haunted house and creepy things happen. I don't know too much, but it looks like your standard like haunted house ghost story. We'll see what happens. I really don't know what to expect from this author at all. I've seen her books everywhere, and I wanted to give them a shot. Hi, so I do have a bit of an update for you all. I hate this angle because you can see how dirty my room is, but this also gets the most natural sunlight. Anyways, reading update. I don't have much to say about The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcey Coates. It's like your typical haunted house kind of narrative. A woman inherits a spooky old house. She doesn't know why, and weird things start happening, and she kind of does a little bit of like mystery work to find out like what really happened. I'm over halfway through. That's how far along I am. It's okay. I will have more thoughts when I finish, but I have an even better update, and that I kind of went book shopping, so I have a little bit of a haul here. Half of these books are like super cozy, and the other half are like very dreadful. we'll start with those. Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I read the arc of this like way before it was like coming out, and I really enjoyed it, and it really blew up, and she's like now an auto-buy author for a lot of people. I think this book really put her on the map. I've read it before, but I don't actually have a physical copy, so when I saw this at the Goodwill, I was like, absolutely yes. And it was 50% off, so it was $2. If you're not familiar, this book is a Gothic book, and it's about our main character, Noemi, and she is sent to go check on her cousin who recently married an Englishman. She lives in Mexico, and a lot of weird stuff starts happening in this like very scary decrepit house that they live in. So it's like it's a Gothic. I really enjoyed this. Maybe I'll do a reread of the like actual published work instead of the arc. And then this book I was really surprised to find. I don't know if this is a series, but this book in particular I feel is kind of popular for like mystery thriller lovers. It's In the Woods by Tana French, and this is an arc copy. I know we're not supposed to like buy and sell arcs, but this was at the Goodwill, so I picked it up. Again, this was $1.50. This takes place in Ireland, and a group of children get lost in the forest, and then one of them does survive, but he has like no recollection of like what happened. And then he grows up and he becomes like a detective, and he's gonna start to slowly realize what really happened in the woods, where I guess he lost two of his friends, and like he has no memory of what happened. It's one of those like narratives that I really love, where someone kind of looks back at a certain event in their life and it's like, wait, something weird happened here, let's figure it out. As for cozy books, this one was also from the Goodwill, also 50% off. This is like a Christmas romance cozy novel, which I thought would be great to pick up for the holidays. This follows two twins who have somewhat different careers. They switch places for certain reasons, and while they're pretending to be each other, they kind of start to fall in love with different like men in each other's lives. I figured this would be like fun and light and rom-com-y for the holidays. So, and these are two that I actually got from the actual bookstore. I have Can't Spell Treason Without T. I love this color of the pages, and this is about two women who kind of drop all their obligations and responsibilities. I believe one of them is like a mage or a private guard or something, and they kind of say, you know what, we don't want to do this anymore, we're gonna just open up a tea shop for ourselves. And it's supposed to be like a cozy kind of story. I want to say this was like on Kindle Unlimited. It was like self-published, and then I think it got picked up by Bramble, which this other book is by Bramble. It was not my intention, but now I have two books from the same imprint. Then the last book I picked up was Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is also kind of like a cozier read. I think cozy books have really exploded since Legends and Lattes. This book follows a young woman who was a librarian who worked at this like great library, but then it burns down, so she kind of takes what she can, whatever like secret library texts, and then she runs away to her like small island town. And while she's there, you know, cozy romance type vibes happen. I think they open some sort of like jam shop, or I'm not quite sure the actual plot, but it's supposed to be cozy. The sprayed edges, very pretty, and I'm probably going to take some Bookstagram photos with these two. And I know I have another book coming. I went kind of crazy with not pre-orders, but like actual orders last week, so I'll have some other stuff coming in. I'll probably do a Bookstagram post soon, and then hopefully I'll get to finish this one today. I have about 18 hours and 15 minutes left. Hi, a teeny weeny little update. Sorry for my appearance. I did not put on a single touch of makeup today, and I've been super tired all day, but I did finish Haunting of Ashburn House. It's somewhere around here. I finished this late this evening, very early this morning, like at around 1 or something. I thought it was okay. It's a standard ghost story. There's nothing quite sets this apart from any other like haunted house ghost story. If you've ever seen a movie that has a haunted house with ghosts, or maybe read a book as well, this doesn't really go to places that haven't already been done before. That being said, it was just like a fun little 3-star of a time. I did think that the reveal was something that we've seen before. Again, there's nothing brand new. There's nothing that I thought Darcey Coates did that like really put her stamp on like this is her story that makes it different from like other haunted house stories. It was okay. I might give another book of hers a shot if I think the premise sounds interesting or unique, but this was just a fun little time. I have about 17 hours and 16 minutes left, and like I said before, I think I'm gonna read the next book in the Sweep series. This is YA. It's not this particular one, but I have a lot of the bind-ups. It's YA witchy story. It's fairly old. This was being published when I was actually still a teenager. For example, on this particular book, we have 2002. This series follows a young girl who is, I think, in her junior year of high school when the story starts, and immediately in chapter 1 we learn about a boy moving into town, and he invites her and a couple of her friends to join like a Wiccan like witch circle. I don't know too much about Wicca, but just know that that's like a huge component of the story, and it's a lot of teen drama. It's not like super end of the world type drama. It's very, like I said, it's like CW-esque, where it's like friend drama, boyfriend drama, family drama. I find that very comforting sometimes. It's very teen, very tropey, very has the problems that existed in 2002-esque teen fiction, you know, jokes, certain things that are like don't pass like the vibe check nowadays, but I appreciate the accurate lens of like what was actually being published for teens in the early 2000s. So that is next on my agenda. I did want to say that I have read one of these books when I was a teen. I don't know exactly which one it was, and I'm 99% sure it wasn't even book 1. So I decided to kind of jump into this series and like read it beginning to end. And like I said before, it's a very fun, comforting series for me. So that's next, and they're not particularly long. This is volume 5, but just know that there's 3 books in each of these volumes, so they're not very long at all. But I did end up getting more packages. Let's start with this one from Books A Million. I've heard a lot about this one. It's probably one of like the YA books at the moment that's getting a lot of buzz. This is Immortal Dark. I believe this is a vampire story. It's also like a dark academia, I want to say as well. I don't know too much about it, but I saw the cover and people were talking about it, so I was like, you know what, I have the money, I'll buy it brand new, which I usually don't do. I like to buy my books from like thriftier places. And then these other books I got from thrift books, which I love. I've been using thrift books for a long time. This is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. I believe this is I'm not sure if this is actually YA, but it follows a young girl. I believe it has like Korean mythology, and I believe she sacrifices herself to the sea god to like appease him or them so her people can receive his like blessing. It seems to be like a don't hurt us, here's this human sacrifice type of vibe. I don't know too much, but it's a beautiful book. So the other 2 books, I'm sad this one didn't come with a cover, but it's okay because it's thrift books. Sometimes they don't come with covers. But I have Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I've been meaning to get back into his work. I read Mistborn, Final Empire, and I did enjoy it. I want to see what else he does in like different worlds. I know that it's like a bigger Cosmere universe, but I picked up this one and then I had enough points for like a free book, and I know that they're making a maybe bad adaptation of this, but The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. In my school, our curriculum didn't really have a lot of focus on like classics, so a lot of the classics that a lot of people have read, I never have, so I picked this one up. Again, it was free because I had like loyalty points. But here is the haul. I don't have an update, like a reading one, because I haven't read since the last clip, but the package that I was expecting did come in today, so let me open it and show you what I got. Okay, I got When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. I thought this sounded really interesting. This book takes place in a world where women like one day just like sprouted wings and scales and like became dragons. I don't think all women did, because our main character, Alex, her mother did not transform into a dragon, but her aunt did. And I guess there's this conversation of like, why did some women turn into dragons and why did some not? I do obviously think this is going to touch on certain things when it comes to like women's agency and the struggles that women go through in life. We'll see how that happens. I am worried that this might be a bit more what's the word I'm looking for, this might fit a little too much into the gender binary. I don't know how this author is going to define a woman, so we'll see how that happens. But it sounds interesting, and it's like a nice quick speculative novel. It just sounds interesting. So yeah, this is the other book that I was expecting today, so let me actually start reading. Okay, so hi. Next update, I finished Dark Magick book 4 in the Sweep series by Cate Tiernan. This is just the binder, but I did finish book 4. It ends right here. Like I said, they're super short. This series, okay, from the beginning, I hope I mentioned it, but our main character finds out she's a witch, and she kind of joins the circle with this new boy in town, and like witchy stuff happens. And it's mostly, I've talked about it as like CW drama, which is basically what it is. It's like betrayal, dramatics, like over the top, like melodramatic stuff. It's not even like end of the world drama, but just like a lot of interpersonal like people drama, which I love. This book, I had a feeling that something was gonna happen, and it happened, and it's very juicy. It's just very dramatic. If you like soapy kind of stuff, this is perfect. Is it the most like compelling, like best written thing, like give it Booker awards? No, but it's fun and it's entertaining. And if this was like adapted again into like a CW-esque show, I would love it. But considering every streaming service is canceling shows after season 1, it's probably never gonna happen. And if it did get picked up, which again it probably wouldn't, and get canceled anyways. But like I said, super fun, exciting, a little dated sometimes. I like seeing friendships break and then mend, and then boyfriends being this and that and all the above. It's super fun and cheesy and soapy. So yeah, it's perfect for like a fun little palette cleanse. So that is book, what book is this? 3? How many books have I read in this vlog? I don't remember. 2? That's my update for now. I do have a little haul. I got some more books. This should be the last book haul for a while. I don't buy as much books as I have, so let me show you what I got. Okay, this one is, first of all, super gorgeous, and it also has sprayed edges and the end papers. Stunning. Okay, so this one is a Mulan inspired fantasy retelling. In this, we follow a character whose father has an opium addiction, and the kingdom is going through some sort of civil war, and every family has to have like a male enlisted, again very Mulan. And since her father has an opium addiction and cannot fight, she's gonna go in his place, instead of like marrying a man who's supposed to be very like violent and like very temperamental. So she's like, no, I'm gonna pretend to be she's like, no, I'm gonna pretend to be a man and like fight instead. That's all I know. I don't know if it's a series, but it looks beautiful, and I always like Asian inspired fantasy. So that's book number 1. Okay, I put you on a stack of books so I don't have to hold my camera. Okay, this one seemed really interesting. It's called Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. In this one, it takes place in this kind of kingdom separated into 12 provinces. There is some sort of voyage where the heirs of each of the 12 provinces are going to like this like mountain goddess, like the mountain of the goddess or something. And while they're on this voyage, one of the heirs is killed, one of the beloved ones is killed, and everyone's like, well, who did it? And we follow a character who is probably like the least liked or qualified. It seems that all the heirs have sort of special blessing or talent or whatever, except for our main character, Ganymede, I think is their name. Yeah, so there's like a murder on this boat. It's a fantasy setting with like heirs and stuff, and I am so excited. I love any kind of nautical, like watery setting, which I'm assuming that's what this is gonna have. But also, isn't that just beautiful to look at? I believe this was originally published in the UK and then eventually got picked up and sent over here to the States. So that is book 2. This one's like the one I want to read the most, but we'll see what I read next. Honestly, these covers are stunning. So this is Lucy Undying by Kiersten White, which I have read before, and some of her books are kind of hit and miss for me, but I do like when she has written in a historical setting. This is a reimagining of the Dracula story, and this one we follow Lucy, who is obviously Dracula, or one of Dracula's first victims. In this we follow Lucy, who has been obviously turned into a vampire by Dracula, and then she kind of goes off and tries to like figure out who she is, and then she falls in love with like a girl, but then I think Dracula comes back. It's this whole thing. But honestly, this cover, come on. But yeah, I am excited to read this as well. It's another vampire novel. Immortal Dark, which I showed earlier in this video, also another vampire book. So I am all about vampires for this coming October. Anyways, I think these books all sound really great. I will choose what to read next and then update you on what that is in the next clip. Okay, peace. Hi, hello. I do have a little bit of an update. I did end up finishing the Spellshop by Beth Durst. I have about a little over 11 and a half hours left for this 24-hour reading vlog. Well, I gave it 4 stars, and I know the exact reader who would really appreciate a book like this. Before I get into it, just to recap, this story follows a woman who is a librarian in the capital of this empire that she lives in, and it's actually kind of going through like a rebellion. Like the book opens up with like rebels trying to like take over the capital, and I think they, like, as far as we know, the emperor has been like killed, and so she takes a bunch of books from the library and loads them on a boat, and then she goes back home to the island that she was born on. She hasn't been there in like a while, so she doesn't quite know anything or anyone on the island. She does have a companion who I adore. Their name is Kaz, and they are a sentient spider plant, which I've never read like a plant companion before, I don't think. Yeah, and pretty much that is the whole summary of the story. The whole revolution plotline is like in the background the entire time. Our main character is not involved at all. I really do like when stories kind of focus on someone who is currently going through like a political revolution, but they're not involved, so it's just kind of always looming in the background. Anyways, our main character, she pretty much, this entire story just revolves around her accepting the community and like the love that is offered to her. She's a big loner, and she thinks that's all she really needs is like books and her companion, and that's it. She doesn't think that she needs much more than that. But when people do offer her like community, she's really hesitant to accept it. Not for like, she's not mean or anything about that, but she's kind of just like, oh, like, I don't know, like, I don't really talk to people, I'm like awkward, that kind of thing. Some people do kind of label this as romantasy, and while there is a romance, that is one of the companionships, that is one of the types of relationships that does present itself to her. It's not really super about romance, in my opinion. I know there's no hard and fast rules when it comes to romantasy, like what is enough or what is not enough, but I feel like this is more focused on our main character and her journey than a specific romance that occurs, in my opinion. This is like very low fantasy, no hard fantasy rules or anything. It's not super dense. If I did have to like give this story a critique, it would be the ending. I'm gonna be very vague, but I know sometimes people still don't like being told that there is any kind of anything in a story. So if you want to skip over the next like 30 seconds, you can. But I do want to talk about the ending, or at least the conflict that occurs. I'm going to be super vague, but still, just if you want to skip over it, then you can. There is a conflict that kind of makes itself known in the story, and for a cozy fantasy, which this is, I don't necessarily need one. For example, Legends and Lattes is one of the more popular cozy fantasies. There is very little conflict. There is like one minor hiccup and it immediately like gets solved. That could have been fine here, but there was a person who created some conflict for our main character. I'm not the person to kind of pick out plot holes, but there's a little bit of something that I needed explained, but it wasn't, and that's okay, whatever. It does get resolved. And then almost immediately another conflict like kind of made itself present, and it was very reminiscent of the first conflict that we just solved, so it kind of felt a little repetitive story wise. I didn't really like that. It kind of took the vibes out of it for me. Like the tone shifted a little bit. It was pretty consistent all the way through, and then the ending I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really like it. So I moved the angle because my arm was hurting. Anyways, as for what I'll read next, I decided to pick up the 3rd volume of Heaven Official's Blessing. I am South Texan, so I will only say this author's name once because I do not speak a lick of Mandarin. I believe the author's name is pronounced Mo Xiang Tong Xie, or MXTX as she goes by online. This was originally a like web novel published in Chinese, and it got really popular and a lot of adaptations. Someone bought the rights to publish it in English, so here it is. This is a Chinese male romance. It falls under the shanxia genre, which is like martial arts fantasy. It has like supernatural elements. In the story, we follow this man right here. His name is Tiernan, and he, as a human in his mortal life, was like really well respected, really well liked. He was like a prince of an empire, I guess, and he was very like dedicated to his Taoist beliefs and like cultivation, and eventually he did ascend into the heavenly realm and became immortal. As he was an immortal, he was also really well respected, had a lot of shrines like dedicated to him, that kind of thing. A lot of people like prayed to him, that kind of thing. And something happened. He made some decisions. He's still a good person, but he made some decisions and got kicked out of the heavenly realm, which is like not good. But again, he's still a good person, still very dedicated to his like Taoist beliefs, and so he ascended for the 2nd time. And I'm not joking when I say that that second ascension lasted like all of 5 minutes, and then he gets kicked out again, and then he ascends like for the 3rd time, which at this point no one's ever done. He's kind of seen as like an unlucky immortal. A lot of his like co-workers kind of mock him. They don't really take him seriously anymore. He doesn't even have shrines dedicated to him anymore. And on his 3rd ascension, he kind of decides that he's gonna like walk the straight and narrow. He's essentially just gonna do whatever the like heavenly emperor asks him to do, and like just like collect like good boy points and like not cause any problems. On his journeys, he does meet this gentleman right here. His name is Xiang, and he is one of like the kings of the ghost realm. The story does have ghosts and like demons and stuff, and he's a pretty like feared character. It feels like every fantasy has like one of those characters that's like super badass that everyone's like afraid of and like respects at the same time. That's Xiang in this series. I already said it's a romance, so you know what's gonna happen. This is the 3rd volume. I believe there's like 8 or 9 in total. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna read next. I can't really go much more into the plot. They tend to pick up like right after like each installment. This is like my first xianxia novel, so if you are not super familiar with like martial arts fantasy, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that kind of stuff, I think this is like a good introduction. Mind you, my editions from Seven Seas Press do have like a glossary in the back for like, you know, stuff that you may not know if you're Western or you have like no idea about this genre at all. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna read next. We'll see how long it takes because I only have a little under 12 hours left. Hello. So I did finally finish the 3rd book in Heaven Official's Blessing. This is a fairly like well-connected story. I don't think you'll get too much resolution from each individual book. It is not that you have to read all like 8 in one go. Think of it as volumes instead of different like books in a series. I hope that kind of makes sense. Anyways, but this one did have a slower start. A good chunk of this novel, I would say half of this volume, is pretty much like a play-by-play about what happened when Cate first got kicked out of the heavenly realm. I was looking back at the footage earlier, and it did sound super spoilery, like I was just giving away the whole plot. All that happened before volume 1. I did not spoil anything. I was listening to it and I was like, damn, this sounds like I'm giving away too much, but that basically happens before book 1 even starts. So this is like kind of like a flashback retelling of what happened when he first got kicked out of that. And then the second half of the volume, we got more interactions between our main character and Xiang. So I loved that second half. I don't really tab too much, but this is some of the stuff that happened in the second half that I really loved to read. So I really liked in this installment. I love the moments that our author puts these two characters in. It's a romance that I'm very like into. I mentioned this already before, but sometimes I can read something with a romantic element and I will kind of come away with like, oh, that was fine, like it's cute, whatever. But I don't really feel too attached to like a romance. I do like this romance though. So this was volume 3. I have about a little less than 7.5 hours. I didn't know what to read, but I knew I wanted to read something a little bit more fast and I know, delectable. Heaven Official's Blessing, while it is a bit lighter than you think it is still a little bit long. There's a lot of backstory in this one. I was thinking of picking up the next novel in the Married to Magick series by Elise Kova, who I've read before. I really like her Air Awakened series, and I did read the first standalone in that series, which was like Deal with an Elf King, I think. And then the second novel, which is the one that I think I'm going to pick up, is Dance with a Fae Prince. I think that's what it's called. They're standalone, so you don't have to read them in order, but I do like reading them in order. And I believe this is about a girl who gets traded to some sort of elf or prince fae thing. I don't know. Seems light. This will also be read on my Kindle. I didn't want to read a physical book because I tend to want to read in the evening these days. This video is getting very long, so I'm going to try to like hurry up these next few updates. Okay, bye. Hello. So I did finish reading A Dance with the Fae Prince by Elise Kova. Here is the image. This was probably the most disappointing read of the vlog. It wasn't like I wasn't angry or like pissed off or anything, but this lacked in so many parts. Like I said before, in this story we follow a young woman who is essentially given to some man to marry, as is her like young woman duties, so she doesn't become a spinster, that whole thing. She was raised by like a terrible stepmother. That it's like a Cinderella reimagining, and the man that she ends up marrying is actually like a fae prince who is trying to like get the crown and like rule the like fae kingdom. That's pretty much the plot. I was told that this is like romantasy. It very much looks like romantasy. It's pitched as romantasy. I think the author also kind of like, this is my romantasy series. Everyone talks about it as a romantasy. This book is very focused on the plot where our male love interest is like trying to get the crown and like rule the kingdom. For me, romantasy has to focus on the romance. I know there's no hard and fast rules, but for the most part I think that's like mostly agreed upon. Like the romance is at the forefront with like fantasy elements surrounding it. Once our main character kind of figures out the fae-ness of it all, we get into that whole fantasy plotline, which would be fine, except we did not get enough chance to really feel out this rebellion prince plotline, but we also really didn't get a chance to feel out this relationship. Like, were there cute moments between them? Yes, like there was cute moments between the two, but like once we got a few of those, it was like, oh, now we go 100% into the romance, and there wasn't a gradual kind of like, for me it wasn't like a gradual romance. We really just like went into it face first at some point. Same with like that fae prince plotline that we were dealing with. It was a lot and I did not like it. I was very bored. Character work also needed something. I could describe these characters visually to you. I could also tell you like the traumas that they faced and like what is their goal in life. But like if you asked me, like if we were going on like a like triple date and we were like if we were going on like a mutual friend date and you asked me like, oh, like tell me about them, I could not tell you like, oh, they're kind of silly or whatever, because we only really see them in the midst of like their trauma and like the goal that they're trying to accomplish, which is like to get the kingdom, right? So I can't, like, character work was lacking. I don't know anything about them. Yeah, it was pretty much just like not a great book. I think if you go into this with like mostly romantic expectations, you will be a little disappointed. If you're like into like the fae prince plotline, you will also be a little disappointed because it just wasn't well done enough and it felt really like smushed in there, despite the fact that it's like, my Kindle says it's over 400 pages. I don't know, this is not it for me. I only reserve 1 stars for books that I deem like problematic or like genuinely like not good, harmful, whatever. So I'm gonna give it a 1.5 because I don't recommend this book, but I would never say it's like don't read it, it's like super harmful to you, and if you like it, you like it, but I don't think you are missing out by not picking this up. And the crazy part is that I am actually interested in reading the other books, but I am obviously like torn because I did not like this one. I thought the first book in the series was like okay, and I'm interested to see like the other realms within this like kingdom, within this like place, because there's like the Fae realm and then like the elf realm, and I know there's gonna be like werewolves and vampires and merfolk, but I don't know, maybe like once in a blue moon I'll pick something up. So that's that book. 1.5 stars, not very good. I only have like a little over 3 hours left for this vlog. Part of me wanted to just like call it because it is getting a little long, but I did see that I have a very short horror novel called You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Barron. I believe this is about a young woman, this individual here, who like works at like a horror fest, and she's supposed to be like a scare actor, but people are actually dying, or maybe someone wants to kill her. I'm not quite sure. It seems like slasher like. That's all I really know. So I'll read this and then I'll end the vlog because it's very long. Hello, so let's wrap up this video, but before I do, let me talk about the last book that I finished, which was You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kalynn Barron. I did not love this one. I'm not sure if I explained it thoroughly enough, but in this one we did follow our main character Charity, who essentially works at a camp kind of production scare house, but instead of like a scare haunted house, it is a campground, and this campground was like the location for like a very culty like slasher film from the 70s, and she works there now. She's the final girl, so they put up this big production and people sign up to get scared. They know it's fake, but like people still get scared. She's a scare actor essentially, but one night things go crazy and like an actual slasher event starts happening. For one, it's very short, so you can probably get through this quickly. I do feel that the ending was a bit rushed. I thought that there were some elements that were introduced that needed more time to simmer. They were just things being thrown at you. If this was like legitimately like a slasher film, it would probably translate better that way. I don't know. In general, slasher films, while I enjoy them, are not like the peak of like film in my opinion. So some of the errors that happened here might be more passable in a film, but when you are writing and you are using the written word, you have time to kind of expand on things that may not be apparent visually. And yeah, she just needed more time to kind of flesh out this book. It did not even reach 250 pages. Like, this was fairly short. While some authors can use a short page count and still create an amazing story, this author did not in this particular instance. So I'll give it like 2.5 stars. I didn't hate it, but it was lacking severely towards the ending. The beginning, the opening was fine, and I thought it was like a good setup. The setting was fine. The concept was like interesting, so I wasn't mad at it at the beginning of this read, but it was very lackluster after the fact. With that being said, I do have about an hour left, but I am going to end the video here. One, because while I can get some reading done in that hour, I know I won't finish anything that I want to read. So I'm gonna end it here. I've talked at length. There was a lot of books shown in this video. Again, this is basically what I read, with the exception of this like omnibus here in purple. I only read one of the books in that collection, and then I also read a book on Kindle Unlimited, which is like right here. I'll put the photo right here. So yeah, I feel like this is like a good mix of books. Obviously more fantasy, some horror. Yeah, I like what I read. Even if I didn't enjoy it, I like the fact that I read more. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the end of the video. I will read an hour's worth more, just not in this video. Feel free to talk to me down below in the comments about anything that I talked about. I like to hear anything that you have to say down below. I will also link my social medias and far more important links down below. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all good with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.